Welcome to X1T, and together we're going to revolutionize the gaming industry. So, one of the things that I hate about the gaming industry is that all they care about is money. Money, 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 money. They don't care about producing good games. So, I'm going to set out to create good games, and I don't even know how to code. So we're going through this series together, learning how to code, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. So finally, I think this time we actually get to learn how to code, which I'm a little bit excited for, because we're going to be doing lesson 1.2. Yeah, so if you guys go to learn.unity.com, you can watch these videos with me. Like we see the other videos, I'm not going to be doing the actual video for you. We're just going to be doing the audio. I don't want to get sued. And I hope you guys are okay with that. Okay, so 1.2, pedal to the metal, overview video. Do we need this 1 minute and 45 seconds? Let's watch the overview video. It's going to be quick.
We've positioned the vehicle at the start of the road with an obstacle directly in its path. Well, last I checked, this wasn't a parking simulator, it's a driving simulator. So we're going to give this vehicle a little gas. And by the end of this lesson, the vehicle will drive down the road.
Oh, some technical difficulties. What happened? Let's go back where we want to be. I pressed the wrong button and it turned it
And
off.
by the end of this lesson, the vehicle will drive down the road, crashing through the obstacles in its way. In Unity, all of the game objects in your scene are made up of components. And it's these components that determine how your game objects will look and behave in the scene. So if you want a game object to behave differently, you just need to change its components. Let's take our vehicle, for example. Right now, it doesn't have a lot of components. It just sits there doing nothing. In fact, it doesn't even obey the laws of gravity. If you raise it up in the air, it would just float there like a vehicle-shaped cloud. But if you add a particular component that tells it to obey gravity, it'll fall. What we need, though, is a custom component that will make this vehicle drive down the road. So, we are going to create that component by programming it from scratch in a new C# script.
Okay, so I'm kind of excited for that.
After we write the code that will move a game object forward, we'll apply that script component to our vehicle, and our vehicle will move forward. As you'll quickly find out, programming is very powerful. Just a single line of code will make that vehicle fly down the road. So to make all that happen, I'll see you in Unity.
Okay, so that's pretty exciting. We're going to go for the first one. Create and apply your first script. So, yeah, so we're going to be doing C# scripts. Let's see how long this video is. 7 minutes. Enjoy watching my face. Wow,
now watch and pay
listen to
attention
the guy's
before you do
sexy
this
voice.
yourself. We have our layout set up nicely here in Unity, so everything is nice and organized. We have our scene set up. So now we're actually going to create our very first C# script to be able to control this vehicle's movement. In order to do that, we're going to go to our project window and then make sure you right-click on the Assets folder. And then you're going to go to the Create button, and we're going to create a new folder. We're going to name this folder Scripts, because this will actually be holding all of the scripts that we'll use to manage all of the interactions in our game. Now, it's very important, especially as you start a project, to keep all of your different folders organized, so that way it's easier to find all of the different things that you need whether it's your assets that you're using in your scene, like in our course library, or different scenes that we need to manage, or in this case, our scripts, so that way we know where all of our programming is being done. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to make sure it gets added to the scripts folder. So we right-click over our scripts folder, and we create a C# script. Now we're going to name this script Player Controller, capital P, Player, capital C, no spaces, Controller. Now, when we press Enter, Unity will automatically create this script for us, and we can actually preview it on the side. So you might be wondering to yourself, why did we capitalize the P and the C, and why are there no spaces? Well, this is actually something called a naming convention, and this is just a standard thing that developers do and people do when they're creating their projects as a way to make it easier for other people to jump into somebody else's project. So if somebody were to play around in your Unity project, they could understand the scripts and all the things that they're supposed to do and what they are. So capital letters for each word in a script makes it really easy for people to know that what you have is a script right there. Another reason to name scripts up front is because it can actually create a pretty large problem in Unity. So what I'm going to do is on my scripts folder, if I right click on it and I click create C# script, and I don't know what to name this script for now, so I'm just going to call it test. And so here you can see that the test script is created, and you can see that it's previewed over in the inspector. Now, say later down the line, I want this to do something. I don't know, maybe for some reason I want to make the obstacle fly or something like that. And then I press enter. So we've renamed this script to be obstacle fly, but in our inspector, you can see the preview of our script. It's still called test, even though we just changed it. So this could actually potentially break things in your project and create conflicts between the name of what you have in Unity and the name of your script. And so it's just better to name everything up front, name it exactly what you want it to do, and make sure that you use the standard naming convention so that way it's easier if other people have to jump into your projects. So I'm going to just right-click on obstacle fly, and I'm going to delete this from my scripts folder because we don't need it. So we have our player controller script now, and we're going to left-click and drag it onto our vehicle. And now, if I click on my vehicle, you should see on the right side in the inspector that there's a player controller script that's been added to our vehicle. Now, scripts are the way that we're going to actually create all of these different interactions for any of our obstacles, our vehicles, even our camera in our environment. And so when we want something to do something, we need to use scripts to be able to tell Unity what we want that thing to do. In this case, our player controller script will make it so we can actually move our vehicle and control it. In addition, when we dragged our player controller script onto our vehicle, you can see that it was added here in the inspector. And so it was added to our list of different components. And so our components are basically the different properties that we can see attached to all of the objects in our scene. So, for example, our vehicle has our transform, so it can control the position in the world, how it's rotated and oriented, the scale. We added our player controller script, so we know that we're going to create a behavior for this vehicle. And then there's other things too, like mesh renderers and mesh colliders, both of which we'll get into later. A mesh renderer just helps to actually enable Unity to show you the vehicle with all of these textures applied onto it. And the collider will actually be something we use later so that we can have our vehicle run into our obstacle. Now, for example, if we went onto our obstacle and we accidentally added our player controller, which we can also do by left-clicking and dragging onto our inspector if the selected object is highlighted, we can add it that way, but I don't want the player controller on this obstacle, so I can click this gear icon next to it, and we can actually remove that component. Or if I wanted to add a component another way, I could also click the Add Component button, and you can actually see all the different components that you could use if you ever wanted to, or you can just type in the name, so we have that player controller, added it there, but we don't want it on our obstacle at all, so we're just going to click on the gear, remove that specific component, and we're good to go. So what you're going to do is you're going to right-click on your assets folder, create a new folder, name that folder scripts, so that way we can...
Okay, so that's pretty much it for the that video. We made a script. He named his vehicle. I named mine red car. You guys can name it however you want. Just make sure that you know the difference when you start doing the coding. Yeah, so let's all go on to the next video. I hope you guys all got that. We'll go mark step as complete. Sweet. Just gotta love slow, laggy computers. If any of you guys recommend on computer stuff, by all means, let me know. I didn't even mark as complete. There we go. Okay, add a comment in the update method.
We've created a scripts folder and we've created our first C# script and we've applied it to our vehicle as a component. And now we're actually going to get familiar with our script and the structure of it before we write any of our code inside of it. So make sure that in your assets folder you have it expanded, and then you open up your scripts folder by expanding it. And then if you double click on the player controller script, now you can see that my script has opened up in my IDE, which stands for an Integrated Development Environment. And basically, an IDE enables us to actually interact with our code and write lines of code and text inside of it. So you can actually see there's words that you would be very familiar with, like words.
This is great. Okay. Let's close this. So it looks like I got it up. Let's go cancel. Okay, close. I think I got to save. Okay, save. Let's try opening it up again. I think they just came up with a new version of Unity that I gotta download. Let's see. Installs. Okay, so it looks like Unity. Okay. This is weird. Thanks for enjoying this with me. I think maybe next time I do a live, I should make sure that all my stuff is updated and working so that you guys don't have to worry too much. Okay, so that one should be good. Let's double click this player. Visual Studios. It's gonna have to update stuff. You guys saw what the heck? So I just want to let you guys know I didn't do nada. I didn't do nothing. And now it's working. Like, what the frick? I just closed it and reopened it, and it's just like, what the heck? Okay, let's go back to the video.
close this little Solution Explorer. I don't really need that. I don't need the Team Explorer either. I don't need the properties. Cool, so now I have a full screen. I'm going to make this a little bit larger. It's just a little hard to see. So on the bottom left, I have this little zoom option. So I'll set this to 200. It's pretty good. Now, my IDE is set to Visual Studio. That's actually the default that you would get downloaded on Unity. If not, you can always go to the website to go download Visual Studio from Microsoft. You might also notice that some of the colors are very different. Maybe you have a white background. That's just a setting of mine. I just turned my settings to be a dark background. I use some different colors for words because it helps make it easier for me to see. So you can change those settings on your own, or if you're using a different IDE, then you should be able to customize it in your own ways. But if you download Unity for the first time, you will download Visual Studio. Now, if we take a look at our class, I mentioned it before, but you can see all these words that are very familiar to you. Words like using, words like public and class. And a really helpful thing about an IDE is that in my case, it actually highlights certain words that are very important for a person and a computer to understand. So the different words that are actually highlighted in blue are standard keywords that your computer is made to understand. With our script itself, our player controller, you can see the name that we made before. And in fact, there's this weird colon icon. And so that icon actually means that this player controller inherits from another class called MonoBehavior. And MonoBehavior is actually a class that's applied to all the different objects that we create. So actually, if we made a script for our obstacle, it would also use things from MonoBehavior. And that's very helpful because in MonoBehavior, a lot of different things that we would need to write ourselves are already made in Unity. So it's really helpful and really easy to get started. For example, we have these two methods here, and you can tell they're methods because they have the word void, and then they have these parentheses, and then they have these curly brackets. So this usually tells you that this is a method statement, and here's actually where we can go write in some code if we wanted to. So start is a method that, as you can see, actually has a comment up here that is called before the first frame update. So when you press play on your game, it would call the start method. Versus the update method, another method from MonoBehavior. And update is called once per frame. So this is actually constantly checking in your game for different calculations it should make or different things that it should be checking against if you have a box that collides with something else or something like that. And the difference here you can see, so these two forward slash marks actually create a comment, and your computer will not read what is on this line of code. So comments are for the purpose of a person to understand what they're reading inside of a method, versus the methods are actually the pieces of information that your computer needs to run certain tasks. So now, in our update method, we're going to write our very own comment. So make sure that you have your text selection inside of the update method. And then if you write // 2 forward slash marks, we can say we'll move the vehicle forward. And so now this is where we're going to write our line of code to move the vehicle forward. But for now, we're just going to make a note for ourselves that this is where we're going to do it. So what you're going to do is you're going to double click on your player controller script, and then your player controller script should open in the...
Okay, so he's just repeating. You guys saw that. Let's go to the next one. Mark as complete. So we had some technical difficulties. And then, because of your guys' thoughts and prayers, we no longer had difficulties. Okay, so it will be step 3. Give the vehicle a forward motion.
We've opened up our player controller script, and so now we can see all of this code that's inside of this script. And so we'll actually write our own line of code so that we can make the vehicle move forward from our little note we made for ourselves before. Make sure you pay attention before you do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to write our very first line of code here in our update method. So if I select this text block right after the word forward, if I press enter, so this creates a new line. So in programming, a blank space doesn't matter. Our computer just knows that there's nothing there. And what we're going to do is we're going to program using a programming language called C#. So everything that's done in Unity uses C#. If you're going to make a mobile application or if you're going to make a website, there are other languages that you can use to create those different kinds of applications. But for our game, we use C#. And C# is just one way that we're able to communicate directly with our computer using certain words that a computer is able to understand to do something that we want it to do. So in this case, we're going to write a line of code to move our vehicle. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to help visualize moving this vehicle down the road. So if I actually select the vehicle in my project hierarchy, so now you can see it's selected. If I left click on this blue arrow, I want to move the vehicle down the road. You can see down in the game screen. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. In fact, if you look in the inspector on the right side, as I'm moving this blue arrow in our transform component, you can see that the Z is actually updating. And so that gives us a really good hint of what we're trying to accomplish. So if you remember, our transform component was the thing that was updating as we moved that vehicle in the scene. In fact, we can actually use the transform component directly. So if I just type in transform, and in this case, lowercase versus capital case T is extremely important. They're two very different things. The transform is actually an entire class, very similar to our player controller class that has even more methods inside of it. A lowercase t means we're getting the transform component of our current object. In this case, it's going to be our vehicle. So now that we're getting our vehicle's transform, what we actually want to do is we want to move that vehicle in that Z direction. So we can use a method using a dot. So a dot will help us get methods out of our different classes and objects. So dot translate. And so you can see here this is a capital T because this is a method just like our update method. And so what is happening here is we're telling our computer we want it to do a specific instruction using this translate method. We want to translate the position, we want to change the position of our vehicle using its transform property. Now, to tell the computer that we're trying to make it do a task, we need to use these parentheses. And a really handy thing that my IDE does, it is actually suggests different things that I can do and can autocomplete certain statements that I make if I'm trying to write code or if I'm trying to use a method. In this case, it's suggesting different things I can do with our transform.translate. So this here you can see inside of translate, there's a vector3 translation.
Yeah,
so this is a parameter. This is a piece of information that I tell the computer to use to be able to do the thing that I want it to do. Now, I don't necessarily know what a vector3 is right now. So let's see if there's other options. You can see there's 6 total options. And this one seems to be really useful. So this one actually says that it will move the transform. It'll change that position by the X, by the Y, and by the Z. If you remember, I was trying to move my vehicle on the Z. So what I can do is I don't want my vehicle to move in the X direction. I don't want it to move left or right, so I'll just type in 0. I don't want my vehicle to move up or down. It's not a plane or a spaceship, so that's also 0. But I do want to move it in the Z direction, so I'm going to make that 1. Now that we've added our parameters to our method and we have that closed parentheses, we actually now need to add a semicolon. And so the semicolon actually tells your script that the method is now complete. So you can think of how we use periods to end our sentences and close our statements. When you're programming in C#, you use a semicolon at the end of your method to tell the script that this is the end of this line. So now what this will do is update is called 50 to 60 times every second. So in a second, our vehicle will move 60 units, 60 meters in a certain direction. So now if I test this in Unity, when I press play, I should see nothing. Okay, that's not what we wanted to happen. Let's see. Get out of play mode. What did I do wrong? So let me just... Player controller. Oh, I forgot to save. So you can see in our project window, I selected our player controller script, and it looks exactly like how we left it when we first opened it. There was no information inside of it. But as you can see in our script here, we've added 2 lines in here. We've added a comment, and we've added this method that we created. So the problem is we didn't save. Simple as that. So if you just press Control or Command S, now our script is saved. You can see now in Unity, in our inspector for the preview of our script, we can see those lines of code now. So now when I press play, I should see the vehicle move. There it goes, speeding all the way off the runway. And it's flying off into space. Maybe it is a spaceship. Cool. So we've written our first line of code to move our vehicle. So what you're going to do is in your player controller script, underneath your update method, inside of your update method, underneath the comment, you're going to write transform.translate, and then you're going to use an open parentheses.
We did it. We did code. I have no idea what this means. Okay, so I was seeing on the guy's thing when he was showing that stuff was popping up. Mine doesn't do that. Yeah, as he was writing, something popped up for him. Yeah, so I guess it'll be a little bit harder for us to figure this out if anybody knows how to. Okay, so if anybody knows how to, who's watching his video, here I'll kind of maybe I can show you his clip of his video that I saw. Okay, so as he's doing this, if you see right here in his video, these things pop up right here. If someone could let me know how to do that, and this one's different than mine. If someone could let me know how to have this pop up, maybe it will help. Because this is where he was saying I don't know what vector 3 is right here, where it says vector 3 on his thing. Yeah. I wish he kind of told us how he set up his thing, but he didn't. But that's okay. We got what we want. It's working. So you transform, translate. I still don't understand the meaning of this. I guess he wants to transform. Transform I can't understand. Translate I don't really understand. But this is the X, Y, and Z axis. So that is what I understand. And so we're not moving the X anywhere. We're not moving the Y anywhere. We're moving the Z one space. Yeah. Something did pop up for me. If I go back like this, and I go like that, boom. Do I get it? No. No, nothing pops up. Okay, let's just close this. No, we don't want to save changes because I screwed something up and I don't want to screw it up. Okay, let's go down to the next video. I marked that one as complete. Going to video 4. How many videos do they have in this section? They got 8 videos, so we're doing pretty good. Oh, he's going to change it to vector 3. Vector 3 forward. I wonder why. Let's watch and find out. Or you guys can listen.
Our vehicle now moves virtually at the speed of light, just flies straight down our screen. So that's good. We've got the movement in. Now I just want to highlight some things with coding to make our lives a little bit easier. So, with our player controller script open in our IDE, my IDE does some really useful things to make my life a lot easier. So, one of the big things first is if I start typing a word, say transform, it automatically tries to suggest the word that I'm trying to type, in this case transform, and I can press enter, and it'll complete that word for me. Now, if I type dot or period or full stop, you'll see that my IDE suggests all of these different words. And a lot of these words, especially if they have this little purple icon next to it, these are all actually other methods that I can use, just like our translate method. Now, you might hear people say methods or functions in Unity and in C#. They're essentially the same thing, but a lot of people just tend to call things methods when you're using these kinds of statements here that have parentheses. Now, you can think of all of these different words very similar to how you would think of a dictionary. And so a dictionary helps you understand a word that you're looking for. In this case, in programming, this is called documentation. And so our documentation, or our dictionary, tells us all of the different words, all of the different actions that we can perform with our transform component here. So I'll use translate again. And now, if we push that dictionary analogy even further, so we have the word translate. And if I use an open parentheses, you'll see that now my IDE suggests different parameters, different pieces of information that I can tell it to use to do something. You can think of this very similar to a thesaurus and synonyms, where many different words have a similar meaning. In this case, we have many different kinds of methods, and these methods all have different ways that you can essentially do the same thing. So in this case, it's asking for a vector 3 translation. Now, in order to get a vector 3, I can actually just type vector 3. And here, now, you can actually see we actually have a suggestion as to what a vector 3 is, which is super helpful. So my IDE tells me that a vector 3 is a representation of 3D vectors and points. What does that mean? Well, in fact, that 0, 0, 1 is just 3 dimensions of points, 3 different points that we use, a 0, a 0.
Okay. Sorry, I gotta figure out how he does that thing, because that helps so much. So I noticed that they have a comment section here. Okay, so someone said in my IDE does not suggest me when I'm typing in it. So, sir, can you please say me why it is so and help me fixing it, please? So that person, English is not the first language. So let's see if this works. What this person says: you can try to set Visual Studio as default instrument. At least it helped me in the Unity editor. Unity editor, go to File, Preferences. so maybe it's in here. File. Preferences. There's no preferences. What the heck? What is it? Go to File. Unity Editor. Okay, so there is a new version. It's just going to restart once I restart the thing. Okay. Preferences. External tools. Yeah. This is not it either. Am I missing it? File. Preferences. External tools. External script editor. And choose Visual Studio. But I am in Visual Studio. Okay, let's see if we can see in certain ones. Okay. See the comments for number 4. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out if someone in the comments is asking for the settings. Okay, so in the Unity editor, you can just go to Edit. On the Unity editor. So we go Edit. Preferences. Okay. I think we're almost there. Preferences. External tools. External tools. Wait. So external tools on the left side. Then you go external script editor on the right side. External script editor. It's Visual Studio Community. Oh, 2019. What? Okay. Okay, that didn't work. this is driving me crazy. Sorry, guys, that you're looking at all this. I'll try to figure this out some other time. Maybe we'll call it a day. I'll try to figure out those things that he's saying, because I feel like that's something I probably would need, and that will be good. Wait, what? Okay, so step 1 says close Visual Studio. No, we do not want to save changes. Okay. Edit. Preferences. External tools. Boom. Okay. In external tools, go to the part where it says external script editor. This should be on whichever Visual Studio editor you are using. For me, it defaulted to open by file extension. Okay, make sure generate all files is checked. Wait, make sure generate all CS proj files is checked. Is it this one that we need to use? Okay, generate projects for editor attaching is checked. You want all these things checked, I guess. Okay. Okay, so all those are checked. And then it says to go back here. So if we go transform. No, still not. Still not. Okay, so apparently all these guys are saying that if I update the next one, it'll be all working. Okay, so I think we're going to call that a day for now. Yeah, we'll call that a day. We'll call that a day. You guys probably had enough of my sexy face. Yeah. So until next time, we'll see you again tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to be playing some games at 9 a.m. Pacific on Twitch. If you guys want to have a little break, you want to see some guy who's really bad at video games play, and some person who's a dude that you're not gonna get any boobs. I'm sorry. Uh, you're more than welcome to join. Need a little bit of a break for this. I'll try to get everything updated. Hopefully, we could get that thing working where it will actually. What is it? Will actually give you like suggestions on what to edit rather than what I got where it doesn't give you nada. I think it'll probably be a good time investment. So I'll probably do that tomorrow while I'm off camera. So tomorrow at 9, I'll see you guys on Twitch. We'll be playing some games, and then at 9 o'clock tomorrow we will continue doing 9 p.m. So 9 a.m. for games on Twitch, 9 p.m. for YouTube. You guys have a good one, and remember, together, it might not seem like it now, but we will get there. Together, we will revolutionize the gaming industry. And I'll see you tomorrow.